important.
Thirdly, whatever forensic information, was there DNA present on the crime scene? Was there ballistics, fingerprints, so your hard and fast forensic evidence?
I like to call them ingredients. To me, profiling is like baking a cake. Certain basic ingredients you need, otherwise you're not going to have a cake. The more ingredients, the fancier your cake.
The body of my brother's son stood by me, knee to knee. The body and I pulled at a rope, but he said naught to me.
When I interview serial killers, you dive into the abyss to try and get hold of this person, and to make the real connection, the soul connection. The abyss is a very dark place. You don't know where is up, where is down, where is left, where is right. You don't know what's going to happen to you. It feels as if there are quite a few predators waiting to jump. It's not silent. You can hear the moans and the screams of tortured souls.
While one profiler traces the killer's footsteps on the killing fields, another seeks a more scientific approach.
You do have to try and understand what the person's motive is, what could be driving them. But I wouldn't say that it's a case of immersing yourself into the mind of the killer per se, but rather on a more scientific level, and more so perhaps you can say even an objective level, trying to figure out what is motivating this person.
I think it's very important for a profiler on a crime scene to reconstruct the process of the crime. Literally, you have to walk in the footsteps of the serial killer. It's very important to get the chronological acts in order, to decipher every piece of evidence. For instance, if there was sex, was the sex before or after death? Because that is going to influence your profile. It's a different kind of person that commits necrophilia.
And so the soul evolves in its fantasy realm.
We found a few instances in South Africa where necrophilia has taken place. Suspects go back to the bodies of their victims after the murder, a couple of days, weeks, etc., ongoing, and will engage sexually with the bodies of their victims, or masturbate on the presence of the crime scene, even after the body has been removed by the police.
Some killers have an urge for necrophilia because a dead body can't reject you. These would usually be men who has a deep-settled fear of intimacy and of verbal and physical rejection from a woman. And when she's dead, she can't reject you.
We study these battered souls like ancient scrolls, hoping to find solutions, rehabilitation, hoping to find absolution.
My personal opinion, and a lot of my colleagues working with us overseas, is that they cannot be rehabilitated. One of the reasons is we don't fully understand what causes it. And if you don't understand what causes it, how do you go about trying to develop a program, do research about it, that will show that this would be effective in rehabilitating our offenders? And a lot of the ones that I've interviewed have said they wouldn't have stopped. They don't know how to stop once they start.
Worldwide, I think there was about 350 serial killers that were released, and all of them killed again. They also admit that they will kill again when they get out. I would not want to give a serial killer a second chance on life outside, and thereby taking away somebody else's only chance of living.
Of the 21 cases investigated by myself, Simons was only convicted on the one charge. He was sentenced on the murder charge to 25 years imprisonment, and he appealed against the conviction and the sentence. The appeal court then changed the sentence and sentenced him to life imprisonment.
I visited Norman Simons the following morning after his conviction in prison. He was quite upset. He had to adjust to his new circumstances. At first he didn't want to speak to me. Then he turned around, he came back and enveloped me into his arms and gave me a big bear hug. It was shocking, both of us cried. I think in that position where I was with his strong arms around me, there was an echo of his pain. There was an echo of the children who died in those arms, screaming. It was like a moment out of time. He had several identity crises as well. First of all, I think ethnic. He had a colored mother and a Xhosa father. As a child, he grew up in a Xhosa community. Also religion. He variated between being a Christian and being a Muslim. And then regarding his sexuality as well. I think he was, in a sense, asexual, homosexual, but I don't think he practiced homosexuality to that extent.
At times, this community professed to be haunted by a vampire, an elusive demon which vanished after every murder, Now, such ideas are once again cast away with the trash.
Nooit weer amper alleen geloop. Nooit strand toe gekom om trolley te kos te word nie. Amper lang, nog nooit amper trein weer gery uit van uit af.
Still, the train runs along the Cape Flats track. Still, the train brings anxious memories to relatives, profilers and policemen that endured the Strangler's beat.
I still suffer from flashbacks. I was hospitalized on many occasions and had shock therapy that still affects me. During my admission at the psychiatric institutions, I was on medication that caused forgetfulness. My son Kurt was fitting the age description of the victims. And as a father, I was quite concerned. I was traumatized. I am still traumatized. And I will always be traumatized and affected by these senseless killings.
Alone, alone, all alone. Alone on a wide, wide sea, and never a saint took pity on my soul in agony.
When I exit the abyss, there's a sense of peace. There's no fear. I'm very glad that it's over. Unfortunately, the experience doesn't last very long, because the next serial killer would obviously by then be operative.
In a very short period of time, 5 bodies was recovered. What was unique about this case is that all the bodies was lying face down, covered with branches from the surrounding trees, and the shoes was packed neatly next to the bodies. And also what was very unique about this case is that it was 3 young male and 2 women who was killed.
But what we found through our experience and research in South Africa is that our serial murders are very different in terms of modus operandi and victimology. We have numerous cases where serial murderers murdered male and females as part of their series. Murdered very young people, such as the Norwood serial murderer. He murdered, his youngest victim was 16 years old, and the oldest victim was about 74 years old. We've had Moses Sithole, who murdered females, but he also murdered the infant of one of his victims. We've had others that have murdered young children, males and female, and then also male and female adults, and mixing of our races. If you look at about the 55 cases we've identified since 1990, 14 of them murdered victims of different races.
During the time that I was the commander of the investigative psychology unit, up to 2000, I think South Africa was second in the number of serial killers to the United States, who was first.
So we do have a high number. I believe partly, if you look at places like Russia, also had an increase in their numbers around the time of when the fall of the Berlin Wall, when communism fell. A lot of social change. And if we look at our statistics, around 1994, we had a marked increase in the number of identified serial murders, but we were also going through a period of social change.
I closed my lids and kept them closed, and the balls like pulses beat. For the sky and the sea and the sea and the sky lay like a load on my weary eye, and the dead were at my feet.